Today we will be covering visual arts, specifically in theater, and we will also be covering how they can be used and what they look like in an elementary school setting. First, let's start off by doing an overview of the terms that we will be covering. Obviously, we will be covering theater, but then we will be branching out to script and text, movement, the elementary settings, emphasis, stagecraft, and some PDE standards. So let's start off by talking about what exactly theater is. So theater is a form of performing arts where actors and actresses act out stories in front of an audience. Theater also includes numerous different types of art due to the stagecraft. So what is stagecraft? Stagecraft is a construction of the scenery, or the background, hanging and location of lighting, costumes, makeup, props, background sound and noise, and stage management. If you look at this picture on the left, you can see that there's background sound or noise by the instruments and the music on the left, the different types of lighting, and the background. So now let's move on to script and text. So a script is a piece of writing that is written for the stage. Stage scripts include a list and description of characters. This is usually at the very beginning of the booklet. It is then divided into acts and then scenes. And each scene will have a description of the setting, the character's dialogue, and stage directions. Stage directions tells you where you should move on the stage, how many steps you should take, and what location, or if you do a dance. If you look at this example, we're starting at scene 1, and it starts with a description of the setting. Then it moves into the character's dialogue. If you look at the last piece of dialogue for Lady Montague, at the beginning, there's stage directions in italics saying pushing a strand of hair from her face wearily. That's a great example. Now let's look at an example for a script for the elementary setting. I will give you a minute to go ahead and read over it. Okay, make sure that when you were looking over this, you noticed that instead of names, the characters have faces to describe who is doing what. So the first one is a turtle, and he says, "Welcome to our program. Welcome to our show. This is a story of the Little Red Hen." It is a story you all know. If you go 4 blocks down, you see that there are 4 different faces that appear on the left side. A cat, a mouse, a dog, and a duck. This would signal that all 4 of those characters would say, "How do you do that?" Let's continue. The next piece that we will be talking about is movement. Movement must portray the character, their personality, their attitude, their health, and their age. And this might seem a little crazy, but movement can even be just sitting on the stage and twiddling their thumbs. It is important to remember that movement must be open to the audience. This basically means that you can't have your back to the audience. You always need to be facing directly the audience. Movement also must be functional. This means that it has to be realistic and doable. Let's look at this example for an elementary setting. Note that the two characters in the front, the girl and the boy, both have their backs facing the back or the sides of the stage. If you look at the characters in the back, specifically this young girl, you notice that she is in the back and not at the front of the stage, but she still has movement and is portraying her character. Let's keep going. Next is emphasis. Emphasis is when you choose to stress particular words to convey meaning. It identifies what topics or ideas are important. You can choose to emphasize something in writing by either italicizing or bolding the word. Let's look at an example. Thomas the engine is stuck on the hill and needs help. Here's an emphasized example. Thomas the engine is stuck on the hill and needs help. Here's another. Thomas the engine is stuck on the hill and needs help. And here's a last. Thomas the engine is stuck on the hill and needs help. You can see with all the different examples that the points that I've vocally emphasized were either italicized or bold-faced. The original piece of writing in the center in green did not have any boldface or italics. So what does theater look like in the elementary setting? It's usually known as children's theater. They're formal children's performances, and they focus on plays, puppet shows, and more that are intended for a younger audience. Some buildings and spaces are dedicated specifically to children's theater. If you look on the right, you can see a summer puppet show being held outdoors. Now let's look at some standards that we can cover in the elementary setting. The first one is PDE Standard 9.1.3.A. This is know and use the elements and principles of each art form to create works in the arts and humanities. This would work specifically for theater in the script and text category. The next PDE standard is 9.1.3.B. Recognize, know, use, and demonstrate a variety of appropriate art elements and principles to produce, review, and revise original works in the arts, specifically movement and emphasis. In the elementary classroom, you can best go ahead and incorporate theater in your ELA time period. The students can go ahead and write their own scripts and texts, and then choose movement and emphasis pieces in those texts to perform them. It's a great way to do a summative and formative assessment for your students. Here's a list of resources that were included and used to get the information for this presentation. Thank you so much and have a great day.